What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you, and one that I've been eager to go over because I have this band's debut EP, and I was really looking forward to this debut full-length, and yet another band that I don't think he had heard before tonight. So those are always fun reviews. So we're going to go over the latest offering, and again, debut full-length from Void Witch, Horripilating Presence, which I had to look up that first word because I'd never really heard that word before, and I figured it was going to be something like gory and twisted. And no, it's Goosebumps, which is like, kind of cool. I didn't know there was an actual word for that other than Goosebumps. This also comes on the 26th of July on Everlasting Spew Records. This band formed in 2021 in Austin, Texas. This is, again, their debut full-length. I have their self-titled EP, which was just straight up Death Doom. Very kind of just raw and filthy and, all the things that I like about Death Doom. And I will have to admit, this one is a lot different than the EP in a lot of really good ways. Like, they really expanded their sound on this one to the point where I would almost think it was a different band.
Yeah, like he said, I'd never heard these guys, but there were two things that immediately sold me on this band. Death Doom and On Everlasting Spew. And those two things right there are enough for me to say, okay, I will check it out. And I got so much more than I bargained for, but in a, once again, very good way.
So as I said, their EP I thought was just very raw, very just filthy Death Doom, dark, haunting, lots of just dreary melodies, and I mean, that is still 100% intact on here, but right from the rip with the song Grave Mistake, it just feels different, not only because I think the production here is a lot better, in fact, the production across the board is fantastic.
Yes.
But this one just has a lot more going on in the way of dynamics, more expansive songwriting, atmosphere, just kind of everything. The songs are bigger, they're more lavish, and this band's sound, I mean, it's very comparable to bands like Paradise Lost, Temple of Void, I would say Hooded Menace, even Mother of Graves, but like, it kind of lurks between two worlds or two schools of thought, at least on Death Doom. It definitely embraces a lot of the tropes of the whole Peaceville Death Doom sound, like My Dying Bride, Paradise Lost. In fact, the vocals really sound like Nick Holmes.
Yes.
But it also kind of goes towards that more like gravelly, disgusting, like super heavy style of Death Doom. Like, think of like every giant-sized breakdown in an incantation song, or a lot of early Hooded Menace, like that kind of just droning, oppressive heaviness. This blends both of those sides together, and the end result is quite a listen.
I would say that one of their most dynamic tracks would be Malevolent Demiurge. That is all over the map in the best ways possible. First of all, it starts off really nasty and kind of mid-tempo, like, because there are some faster moments in this record, but this starts out really, really just kind of gross sounding. And the guitars, while they're not HM2, they are really, really fucking close on this song. Like,
a little bit of extra dirt and grit on them, and like corpse fluids, I don't know, whatever they do over there.
And there's no like real melodies in this. Everything that they ever touch melody-wise has a harmony to it. And it is probably some of the most unique harmonizations I've ever heard, to be honest. Yeah, so it starts out with like a crowbar type chug, and then you get a lot of what I would compare to typo negative as far as like melodies and harmonies are concerned. Just the tone of the guitar just has that kind of like gothic feeling to it.
Yeah, no, I got that a lot, especially on that track in particular. That song balances out like dreamy, melancholic atmosphere and then just flat out disgusting heavy death metal. Like, it is really just wild in terms of like the shifts between these moments, because you get these like lush harmonies and just these beautiful expansive atmosphere, albeit very depressing and gray. But they're absolutely just drenched with these just atmospheric guitars where they're using a lot of like different effects and different tones to kind of like shift around the mood. Like, there's a frequent use of like, I would say like a phaser sort of like effect, where it feels like the melodies are kind of like surrounding you, like flies buzzing around a corpse. I don't know. That's the best comparison I got there.
Yeah.
And you get these like giant swells of those melancholic hooks, and then it just comes crashing down with these just oppressively heavy, chug-riddled death metal sections. There's even some blasts in that song towards the end, which kind of caught me off guard. Like, this does get like a little bit more up-tempo occasionally, but generally the pace of this is slow, lumbering. I mean, it's bleak. It sounds defeated as hell.
I mean, it's Death Doom.
It's Death Doom. It's kind of what you want.
Yeah, it's what you come to expect from a descriptor like that. It is mostly slow, but it does get faster too. In the song's second Demon, there are not only straight blast beats, but there's also thrashy sections. It likes to switch tempo a lot in that song, and I found it to be really cool. Like, they will almost at the drop of a hat switch the tempo on you, and you go, hey, wait a minute. And yeah, it goes from like thrash to like a more Death Doom groove. And that happens a lot all over this record.
Oh, it does a lot on the title track. Lots of like really hard shifts. Like, it kicks in with like delayed guitars, and it almost feels like you're kind of stuck in a David Lynch film and a Death Doom band is scoring it.
Yeah. It's got like this kind of like swingy, isolated ride, and the bass is grooving. It's almost a little funky. It's weird to say, but it's got like just a very kind of like, yeah.
And then it just comes crashing in with like just huge death metal tremolos, lots of harmonized death metal tremolos. And then it keeps kind of like just switching up, like the rhythms constantly change in there. You get some more like Sabbathy swings, then like double time. Then you get like some flat out Death Doom breakdowns. And it returns to that little like David Lynch-esque moment like frequently as like sort of like a chapter break into the next section. And all throughout these wild stories, you have like this ferocious narrator with their vocalist. He's just got this amazing growl that is both like intelligible and just flat out demonic sounding. Not like too much reverb on it, but it's just enough to kind of give it that cavernous, ghoulish sort of effect.
Yeah.
And that works to amazing effect when they slow it down even more, like Supernova of Brain and Bone. That is a horrifying supernova. It's like just shrapnel everywhere and meat. That song might be the gloomiest song on here, which is kind of hard to pull off considering the other songs are just flat out gloomier than hell. But that one almost shifts more towards like Funeral Doom. It has like a dirge-like sort of pace to it. The melodies and harmonies are dreary and just kind of weeping. And I love what they do in terms of the verses and the chorus. The verses drop out to clean tones. It's more haunting and atmospheric. It's probably one of the most atmospheric songs. And then when the chorus comes in, it is dark and menacing and oppressive as hell. But there are, again, these great harmonies all over here that kind of, I don't know, like let the light crack through the clouds just a little bit. I didn't write Funeral Dirge. I wrote Funeral Anthem because it felt, I don't know, anthemically dark.
It's for a moment, it's like, I am sad, yes! Kind of one of those.
We all have those moments, right?
Yeah, right. But another cool thing is towards the end, they do like an extra lead, and it sounds straight up like these harmonies are crying. That's a very unique occurrence too, because I can't think of any time in this record where it does exactly that. Like, I think they wrote those harmonies specifically for this song because it was so doomy and gloomy. Like, Eeyore on his best day was never this sad.
Oh, he's probably like this on his birthday. I'm older.
Fuck.
Someone hit me with a hammer. And the solos, too, along with the lead harmonies. The solos, I think, are really interesting because the phrasing, I don't know, they're almost kind of storytelling themselves. Because you get, like, some that start off, very melancholic, then they kind of get very bright, and then all of a sudden you're getting into, like, dive bombs, and it gets, like, really creepy, and they kind of lurch a little bit. And then it's back to these bright sections again. So there's so much going on in the way of song structure. You could even argue there's like some early Opeth in terms of like how they have a lot of these songs paced. I would even argue that Malevolent Demiurge, which is the longest track of the album, you could even say it's almost written in movements. Like there's parts that don't necessarily repeat on there that are kind of like standout sections to this particular part of the song. And it's that frequent shift between moods and styles that really kept this album like just super interesting. Like I was engaged in every moment of this listen. And Malevolent Demiurge, I think, is again probably one of the best examples on there. The again shifts from like flat out brutality, like something that is again very akin to like incantation, to these absolutely gut wrenching, like pallbearer style harmonies where you kind of get that I'm not crying, you're crying sort of vibe. Like, wow, that feels sad, and they haven't even said a word. It's just the music that has given you the big sad there.
And this record's also, once again, very heavy. The track Thousand-Eyed Stalactite, which I love the chorus on that song, but this song is just flat out heavy. There's tons of really big, chuggy moments in here. All the tremolos are really low end, and like, even when they harmonize everything, especially when they harmonize those tremolos, just ugh. Flat out gross, and the breakdown on that song is nasty.
Oh, when the chorus comes in, it is just an instant mood shift. It becomes menacing and dark. In that song, though, the thing that really stood out to me were the drum patterns. And generally when you talk about, death doom or doom metal, drums are generally like, yeah, no, he's keeping a good rhythm. Occasionally get a little bit flashier. I mean, everyone's probably seen that, farmer meme where it's the funeral doom drummer's like, oh, it's honest work. But honestly, this guy does a lot of cool stuff, like off-time grooves and some really clever fills on here, albeit it is kind of done at a slower pace. But, there's more going on in general to all this, and, that definitely does not exclude the drums. Hell, there's even some really cool bass lines on the title track, too, so everyone's contributing. And, I mean, the bassist, I don't know if he necessarily need to get flashy, because the tone on that bass, like, you can hear it boiling and sizzling
just
right away. Like, as soon as the first strum comes on the opening track, like, dude, is that the bass?
Yeah.
What? There's also a lot of, like, really interesting isolation on here. And isolation, I think, works well with, like, death doom, funeral doom, doom in general. Dropping out to like drum and bass grooves and like more atmospheric guitars. Thousand-Eyed Stalactite in particular has some great builds from there, and they just kind of build from the emptiness. And honestly, it's those empty sections where the vocals just absolutely shine. Like, Jesus, he sounds like a very, very depressed Satan.
But I like how even in those isolated moments you get these low growls, but he still adds theatrics to it.
Everything's like really well enunciated too. Like, you can make out pretty much every word he says in here. As far as any negatives on here, oh man, I'd really have to like sift through this to find something. There was one spot on Second Demon where it's this one fast section that comes in with this really shreddy, kind of thrashy lead, and it's just like a sharp transition, like it just kind of, boom, you're off. Like, whoa, what was that? We were kind of like slow and depressed earlier, and now we're running around the room. And then it just stops, and it never repeats. And I thought that moment was just kind of off. Like, even all the other faster sections, the way they transition in and out of them, I think they're just like a little bit smoother. This was like the one spot where it didn't work as well. And that was it. Like, that's the only thing I didn't like on here. It wasn't as though the music was bad. It was just like, man, that transition could have been smoother.
And see, I 100% disagree, and that's fine. I thought that moment was really cool. Again, to be able to make that hard of a switch that quick, and it was flawless. Like, I didn't hear them skip a beat at all. It's like they somehow, went blah, boo, blah. It was cool.
Confused the hell out of people at a live show. Like, all right, we're just not. We're going? All right, I'm going to get it. No, it's over.
I mean, I like shit like that. Like, not that this band sounds like BT Bam, but I've watched a lot of people try and jam to that band and get lost too. I don't know. I thought it was really cool. Other than that, and that's not a gripe, I don't have any gripes. Like, this was a fucking awesome record through and through. And for that reason, I'm going to give it 4.5 stars. And it's a pretty solid 4.5 stars. Once again, getting into it, I thought I was going to get nasty death doom and just heavier than heavy, which I thought was going to be great. And that's the case. But man, very riffy, tons of amazing and very unique harmonies. Like, I know that, a lot of bands throw in really awesome harmonies, but the way that they are woven into the songs is just kind of cool. And like, every harmony is just kind of odd. I think their sound is uniquely theirs, even though they emulate a lot of awesome bands like we've already mentioned. I just think that they have found a really fun way to create death doom. Wild transitions, but they're landed really well. Tons of almost flashy guitar work. Like, I don't want to say it's flashy, but it's like, flashy. Yeah, songs are all over the place, but not in a bad way. Like, there's tons of stuff going on, but it doesn't sound cluttered at any time. Like, I never thought there was too much going on. Maybe the last minute of the title track, it sounds like they're throwing everything they have all at once into the soup. That was the one moment I thought like maybe it was a little off the rails, but that wasn't a bad thing. Yeah, the production is really solid. Natural sounding drums, crunchy, chuggy guitars. Yeah, sounds great. I'm gonna stop babbling. If you're into bands like Paradise Lost, Eternal Rot, Bloodbath, Crowbar, Typo Negative, Incantation, Temple of Void, you're probably gonna want to check this out. For my first listen to this band, I'm definitely thrilled.
I am also going to give it 4.5 stars. I enjoyed the hell out of this. Huge Temple of Void vibes. Like, if I was going to compare this band to just one band, it reminds me a lot of Temple of Void. Their song structure, their use of dynamics, atmosphere, very close. But the thing that really stood out to me is, man, the lead work in here and all those harmonies, like, they add so much. And the fact that this band likes to play with mood and setting, the melancholic beauty versus all the just outright disgusting heaviness. It is amazing when they switch that on and off. And it kept me engaged throughout this entire listen. Yep. Like, they're almost like long, depressing stories. And, I mean, they probably are if I really got into the lyrics. But all these songs really just jump out. Like, there's just tons of hooks to them. There's great melodies. I like the fact that there's like a little bit of funeral doom on here, too. And when they get down and dirty, down to the flat-out death metal sections, it is insanely heavy. So don't think of this as like purely like melodic death doom. It's more in that realm, maybe. I don't know. Like, it's kind of like an all-encompassing death doom listen. Like, if you like death doom in kind of any fashion, whether it's like Paradise Lost or like early Hooded Menace, I am reasonably sure you are going to find some stuff you like in this. So yeah, if you're a big fan of those bands, as well as, I'll even throw in Pallbearer too, in terms of all the melodic guitar work, check this out. Check out their EP too. I think it's really solid, but I think this is a huge jump for the band. And yeah, I'm going to get down to ordering this one relatively soon. So if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also in our channel, in the banner in the bottom right-hand corner. But if you want Thralls Metal stuff, you have to go to thrallsmetal.com. We have t-shirts, both old and new. The old ones are discounted, provided we have your size. And we even have hats, too. So if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below.
And as always, tons of stuff going on at Thralls of Metal. Album reviews, discography rankings. We will get to Meshuggah, I promise you. Is it metal? Is it not metal? States of Metal. Nick's never-ending collection updates. Recently, we did a kind of talking forum thing. I don't know what it was. We're talking about the Metal Archives. I think we're going to start doing more stuff like that too. Try to get you guys involved a little bit more than you already are. And on that note, we thank you for that. We appreciate all of our family and our friends and our subscribers and everybody that has wound up at Thralls of Metal and makes this a real, like, community, family type thing. We enjoy that. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys are absolutely awesome, and we're looking forward to overloading you with more content. So one more big thank you because of all of your awesomenesses, and we will catch you later.